Tonight we're going to talk about fire blocking, fire stop, fire foam, and they're all basically mean the same thing, but they do have slightly different functions, and I'm going to talk to you about that tonight and show you some examples. As far as we're concerned, this primarily has to do with new construction, if that's what you're inspecting, although some of what of my presentation tonight is going to also apply to existing homes, and I'll explain that in a minute. So fire blocking building materials are materials approved for use as fire blocking installed to resist the free passage of flames from one area of the building to another. In other words, you're compartmentalizing the house, so if a fire breaks out, for example, in the kitchen, you want to contain it to the kitchen and not give it the opportunity to go to other parts of the house, especially at nighttime when you might be sleeping and not be aware that there is a fire. So fire stopping is kind of a foam, and it gives you passive protection of the building. Its intention is to help slow down fires, gases, toxic fumes throughout a building by containing it within an area of the building where the fire or those fumes might accumulate. A good example of fumes would be in a garage, for example. So fire stops designed to seal openings and joints in walls and floors to help impede the spread of fire from one part of the house to the other. And where do we typically find fire stop? We'll find it between floors, penetrations of the top plate and the bottom plate, wire runs inside walls, plumbing runs inside
runtime wall. E W.
That was interesting. Was that a question?
Yeah, that's somebody with their mic on accidentally. Keep going. Mike, we can't hear you. You've lost your audio. Mike, we've lost your audio.
I don't think he can hear you, Hollis.
I think he's going to call back. Sorry for the glitches, guys.
All right. I'm hoping I'm back. Can anybody hear me?
Yes.
You're back. Sounds good.
All right. So fire block is primarily designed to maintain or compartmentalize anything like, for example, an electrical fire in the junction box here. We want to slow it down. You're not going to stop it completely, depending on how soon it can be caught, but you want to slow it down so it can't get up through these openings in the wire and the top plate here and spread to other parts of the house, which will accelerate its speed and burning down the place. Typically, these are where you're going to be finding these kinds of contraptions, blocking foam, stop, and so forth. So horizontal fire stops are required at floors and ceiling elevations. And in new construction, you should be looking for that if you're doing those kinds of inspections. In existing homes, not so much because they're going to be closed up. Fire stops consist of three components: a fire resistive assembly or fire barrier, the penetrating items like ducts, pipes, conduits, cables, etc., and the sealant. Penetration shall be protected by an approved penetration fire stop system installed as tested in accordance with the ASTM requirements. And shall have an F rating of not less than the required fire resistance rating of the wall or floor assembly penetration. This is all gobbledygook for most home inspectors. We really don't care. All we're doing is looking for it to make sure it's there if we have access to actually see if it's there. That's our job. Here's an example of a top plate in a new frame house, and you can see where they penetrated the top plate here by drilling a hole in order to get their conduit through it. And over onto the left, you can see where they got wires running through the top plate, and they've used expandable foam. This is called great stuff. It's stuff out of a can you can buy at any lumberyard. It's really not considered the proper material to use because it will catch on fire. Fire stop is a burning component. But the reason they let it slide in residential homes is because it functions as a smoke and slow downer. And it's good for that reason. And they're not really too particular. The code isn't really too particular about what you can use in residential. If this was a commercial building, it would definitely be rejected. And of course, to the right where the PVC goes through, that needs to be sealed up. Because if smoke were to develop in this compartment right here between the studs, it has access into the attic and throughout the rest of the house. Another good example here, I do a lot of new construction monitoring in my business, and because there's a lot of it going on, as you all know, throughout parts of the country, that's especially true in Florida. And I look for this stuff because oftentimes it's the low man on the totem pole gets the job of foaming these holes. And they tend to do a sloppy job, one, because they're low man on the totem pole, and two, because they don't understand why they have to do it, so they're just going through the motions, not really understanding the science behind it. And oftentimes these holes get overlooked or foamed improperly or not at all. So it's important that we write them up. More examples. Again, this house is supposed to have been ready for drywall, and you can see by these holes that it's not ready. Here they foamed quite a few places on the exterior wall, but that's not for fire purposes, that's for infestation purposes. Coming out of the slab, same thing. See this big opening right here? See the foam they put on it? They haven't really closed it off. They did a sloppy job. And I mean, you're not going to get so much fire or smoke or debris out of this, but you will get infestation out of this, which is why they need to be closed off. Same thing here with this conduit. That needs to be sealed up prior to drywall. Good example, conscientious, wrong material, but we're not going to fault them for that. Fire blockers shall be provided to cut off both vertical and horizontal concealed draft openings and to form an effective fire barrier between stories and between a top story and the roof space. That's the attic. Fire blockers shall be provided wood frame construction to the following locations. Concealed spaces of stud walls and partitions, including furred spaces. I showed you some examples of furring strips that were not done. Parallel rows of studs or staggered studs. Vertically at the ceiling and the floor levels. Horizontally at the intervals not exceeding 10 feet. At intersections between concealed vertical and horizontal spaces, such as occurred at soffits, drop ceilings, and cove ceilings. At openings around vents, pipes, ducts, cables, and wires at ceilings and floor level, with an approved material to resist the free passage of flame and products of combustion. The material filling this annular space shall not be required to meet the ASTM standard requirements. At fire blocking of chimneys as well. That's an important area right there. Pyrolysis is the slow, low heat degradation of wood causing dehydration and charcoaling of the framing material. It's imperative that fireplace clearances and combustible material, which is violated all the time, by the way, be protected and or have proper clearance to prevent potential fire. Pyrolysis can lower the ignition temperature of wood down to 250 to 300 degrees over a period of time where wood would normally ignite at these temperatures here. So you can see where the drying out process is really a factor in fire. The use of great stuff, which is polyurethane foam, is commonly used but never code compliant for use as fire stopping. Polyurethane is flammable and burns very hot. The fumes produce highly toxic gas. Here we caught him in the act. Now the picture on the left is actually the proper material as a fire stop. It's usually orange or pink in color, whereas great stuff is typically going to be cream colored or white. Here's where existing homes comes into play. We're in the attic looking down into a wall cavity, and this is not fire stopped where it should be. Anything occurring in this cavity right here, this wall cavity, can access into the attic and spread throughout the attic and go anywhere it wants inside the house. So that's a defect. Needs to be addressed. Here we have a chimney flue. This is a manufactured fireplace, a modular fireplace. And those things come to the site, construction site, as a kit. And everything is, all the parts are there, just they have to be assembled properly. And you can see here where, excuse me, we have fiberglass insulation dropping down in here. Is fiberglass insulation a combustible? Yes, it is. It burns. Are lawn chairs a combustible? Yes, they are. They're made out of nylon. They'll burn hot. So this whole opening here needs to be fire stopped. And that material, that fire stop material, came with the kit of the modular fireplace, but it was never installed. Another example, anything that might develop in the fireplace, heat or flame-wise, can now access the whole house because of the missing fire stop. Here's a typical example. This came with the kit. You can see where the plate here, which acts as a fire stop, is supposed to close off this framing area, but it was never installed properly. It was just laid in place. Consequently, it's ineffective. Same thing here. Separation material in garages from the residence and attics, not less than a half-inch gypsum board or equivalent applied to the garage side. They're talking about the wall now, the wall between the garage and the living space. From habitable rooms above the garage, not less than 5/8 type X. Type X is a fire-rated drywall, a gypsum board, or equivalent. Structures supporting floor ceiling assemblies used for separation required by this section, not less than half-inch gypsum board or equivalent. Garages located less than 3 feet from a dwelling unit on the same lot, not less than a half-inch gypsum board or equivalent applied to the interior side of the exterior wall. We should be looking for that stuff when we're inspecting. Intermittent fire stop is a type of stop which, when heated, will swell and expand in volume, closing off the opening. They are typically the best overall performers for most applications. They also cost more than great stuff. Plastic piping fire stop systems almost universally require some form of this material, since the combustible pipe will soften and eventually be consumed by the fire. And this is the result of not doing it properly and originally, or not catching it after the fact in an existing home. Thank you. Any questions?